Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I am speaking with Chris McCooey. He has just released a fantastic new record called Missing Pieces, and I am super excited to talk to him all about it. Chris, I want to sincerely thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Austin. It's really great to chat with you about this record. I'm really
Yeah,
excited.
I'm super excited to talk about it. As I mentioned before we started recording, I've listened to it, I think like three times through already, and it truly has gotten better with each listen. And really the first thing that I'd love to know about it from you is like, what is it all about? Like, is it a series of individual stories or is there one overarching message to it?
Yeah, I think the running theme through the record is really family and kind of our different experiences with family, my different experiences with family.
Hmm.
And so some of those experiences are sort of joyful. I think some people can have those. I've been married for 30 years, and so that's reflected in some of that.
Sure.
Some of those are more reflecting kind of trauma that comes with
Right.
experiences of family, of sort of not knowing who family is. I was an adopted kid, and so I
Oh,
didn't know my biological parents, and so there's some of that in there, sort of reflecting, kind of going through those experiences. Um, uh, One of the other themes, which is something that affects a lot of the work I do these days, is I have one of my kids has a chronic illness, and so writing from the point of view of a parent who is a caretaker of a kid in that circumstance, and writing for other parents in those circumstances or people in those circumstances is something that sort of really weighs on my heart, my mind, and sort of the way I think about
yeah.
life and art and all kinds of things these days.
No, that's a huge chunk of your life. Obviously, the dedication to go through that and to keep going through that. I'm not surprised that it made its way to your music.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And just the experience of running into other people who are doing the same thing and just seeing how, I think everybody's experience is different. Everybody's kind of worst situation or nightmare is kind of relative to them and their experience.
Totally.
And so also just seeing kind of the heroic efforts that families make on behalf of their loved ones
Absolutely.
over the years, running into people in the intensive care units and things like that.
Yeah,
It's nothing you ever thought you'd get into, but once you're there, it's sort of, you're taking it in, and you're invested for sure. So it's an
totally.
amazing and hard but rewarding thing.
Totally. No, it's heavy stuff for sure. And obviously reflects in the music itself. Um, how long did this take to put together? Like, how did it look like on the back end, the production, the process? Like, who all was involved with this? Because
Yeah.
as amazing as the lyrics are, the instrumental is also beautiful. So I want to know, like, yeah, how did it all come to be?
Well, there's my good friend Max Butler. He's currently a Bay Area-based player. He's been around forever. Session guy. Was a sideman to Chuck Prophet for many years and toured with him. He and I started. We've known each other for years, and we worked together at various places. We worked together at churches and things like that.
Sure.
I started kind of writing again back in and wanting to record about 2019,
Okay.
and he came alongside and sort of volunteered himself to go on this road with me, and we talk a
Sure.
lot about the idea of just getting in a studio with musicians and just
Right.
recording, right, just trying to do something that was you know semi live or as live as you can make it.
Yeah.
And just that is particularly, as we got into it and we got into the pandemic and that sort of thing, the experience of just being in a room with people and playing music was
Right.
just amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the MO of the work that we've done. This is the third record that we've done over the last 3 years or
Nice.
4 years. And so that's kind of where it starts, is just getting a group of players going into the room. It's pretty that the majority of the work is pretty quick. We get together, we rehearse sort of for about 4 hours,
Okay.
show up to the studio. In this case, we actually did two big sessions. We did one session, which was like the rock and roll session, where it was full, four of us in a room
Sure.
recording, guitars, bass, and drums. And then we did another session where we actually had a string quartet. And so we actually did
Wow.
kind of that Capitol Records thing where we had the string quartet live with acoustic guitar and me singing. And then we came back in and did some overdubs for a couple other things.
Very
And so,
cool.
so that was just really a great, I mean, it's just so fun. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
old school, it's kind of like old school classy recording on a budget,
Totally. Well, that's the thing with nowadays is like obviously people were sending remote, files to each other before the pandemic. That
Yeah,
wasn't new, but like the future that we've hit with recording, I still feel like no matter what, no matter how far you are, there's nothing you can do to recreate the magic of playing with someone in a room
yeah,
next to you.
yeah,
Maybe as like, an average consumer of music, you may not be able to tell, but I mean, I listen to music literally all day long. So you
yeah,
can really feel like the love and the passion, and it I think it's translated to like this grand atmospheric sort of sound, and it comes
absolutely.
through perfectly, and you can really like you can feel it.
Yeah,
It's something
yeah,
that you
absolutely.
can't add in post, and you can't.
No, that
there's not
spontaneous,
totally
spontaneous inspiration that happens
absolutely
here in the room. And I mean, it doesn't, like in the back in the old days with the Beatles, right? Using the recording studio as
yeah
an instrument, you still have that, and you can still do that, and you come back
right
and fix and tweak and do that. But just to be in a room and just sort of react,
yeah
uh,
the
you know,
minor changes, the little tweaks, like you can't just be sending 10,000 emails back and forth to each other. It gets a little annoying
absolutely,
after a while.
absolutely,
I love
yeah,
that.
indeed.
Another thing that I love about this record is that it really does pull from so many different styles and genres. Like, obviously, there's like an Americana base to it, and it's
Mhm.
rooted in that, but it also takes twists and turns and it does its own thing. I want to hear from you. Like, what label would you put on this? What would you call this for someone that hadn't listened to it before?
Yeah, I mean, labels are hard. I mean, I am,
Yeah.
I'm, so I discovered kind of the American, this is going to sound kind of dumb, but I discovered the Americana genre just a few years ago where I happened upon
That's not
the
dumb.
video of Brandy Carlisle at the Grammys,
Oh,
right?
she's amazing. Yeah.
She is amazing. I saw that performance and I was like, what is this? And this
Yeah.
is like a category. This is amazing. That was my gateway kind of into it. And then I discovered, well, it's been around for a long time. And there's this other great stuff that's there. And that as a genre, it's probably the only thing that I think that kind of that fits kind of where my head is in general. I mean, I
Mhm.
know the funny thing about Americana is it sort of means different things to different people, I think, because I think,
That's so true. No,
yeah,
it really is. And I've had that conversation before, but I think overall there is a specific sound, or at least like it can vary a little bit.
definitely, definitely. I mean, like alt country, it was kind of the beginnings
Yeah.
of some of that, I think, and then it kind of moved out. But that was kind of like the starting point. But I'm a Bay Area born and bred guy. I grew up playing the nightclubs out here in San Francisco and
Sure.
Berkeley in the '90s. And so as anybody who played clubs in in that era, you sort of put your toe in a lot of different pools.
Yeah.
So, I was playing shows, with members of what would be Counting Crows one night. The next night, I'm playing shows with bands like Fungo Mungo, and thrash funk,
Yeah. Of course.
and doing world music and ska and everything else. So that's kind of all in who I am, right?
Totally.
And then in addition to that, just playing with Max. Max is a multi instrumentalist. He has got background both in just rock and roll and alternative stuff, but he's
Mhm.
done a lot of bluegrass with a band called Fret Not that he played in for years,
Okay.
and then with Chuck Prophet, who's kind of kind of rock and roll Americana type thing, but sort of like he's sort of a genreless storyteller, right, in a way.
Sure.
So and Max is he is an amazing guitar player, but he brings into things like steel guitar and pedal steel and mandolin and those instruments. So
Yeah.
so it gives me a great palette to play around with and work with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, then, I mean, it sort of begs the question of like, I love this sound and I wouldn't want it to sway or vary too much. But do you have any potential plans to experiment in the future, try new things on future records?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like with this record, I think when we started talking about it, we were planning it, Max actually said, "Hey, what about a string quartet?" And I said, "That's a great idea. Let's do
Why
a string
not?
quartet."
Exactly.
He was feeling saucy,
Right.
wanted to write an orchestration, and
Totally.
I've got the song for it. Let's do it. And so that's kind of how we go about it. And I'm really excited to try other things. In the near future, I think I'm thinking about remixes and things of that sort
Sure.
too. So yeah, I'm open. I love the process of recording. I mean, that's one of
Right.
the things I missed over the last decade or so. When I laid out
Totally.
of any of doing this stuff, and just getting in the studio, experimenting, playing around with voicings and sounds is just
Right.
a delight.
In terms of like the actual framework of making these songs, have you refined it in any way over the years? Does it always start with a lyric or a bass line? Or like how does it work for you? Because I know it changes for everyone and depends on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
song.
Well, I mean, the iPhone and the digital memory
Yeah,
is my best friend, and
I would
I
say.
spend a lot of time with that, and just
Of
when
course.
I'm driving around or out and
Yeah.
about, singing ideas into that and capturing sounds and things I hear.
Yeah.
I A lot comes out of, maybe I'm jamming on guitar and I'll come up with a lick or chord exchange I like.
Yeah.
But really, from anywhere, it can come from a lot of different places. Notes or ideas or themes that pop in. So it really varies. Some of the songs, that sort of, I guess the nice thing of not of laying out for 10 years, when I was laying out, I was still writing. And
Sure.
so I have a body of material that goes back about 10, 12 years
Right.
that I'm able to go back and pull from, and sort of like put collections of songs together that kind of feel like they fit together. And it's fun to go back and sort of see, well, what was I thinking about 10 years ago, or
Right.
what works, and then to continue to write now and find things that are kind of like, okay, those all really are, there's a synergy there.
Right. No, I mean, besides like building up a catalog and having a discography, these songs and these albums, they act as time capsules. Like you can really kind of capture your essence as a person in a
Absolutely.
certain time period. It's like the weirdest thing.
Well, that actually was kind of that was one of the real strong motivations to start doing this again,
Mm,
is that just you know people have various ways that they want to kind of, I don't know, be remembered, or sort of, with
yeah,
my kids, sort of like, I'm not a journaling guy, I'm not a diary kind of guy, but
sure.
I write songs. So I can write these songs, I can record them, and they're going to be there, right? So they're, it's a way to kind of
Wild.
talk to them over the years. I won't get morbid, but it's
No,
like,
no, I understand. I know, I feel the same. It's like yeah, you gotta leave the little trinkets behind to be like, oh, my dad did something. He made some music.
yeah, yeah. And to be
Wild.
conscientious about the time we're writing into, like,
Yeah, of course.
during the pandemic, there were definitely songs that reflected
Oh yeah.
some of that, and still just kind of the things that we're going through now.
Yeah.
So I think that, I mean, that's the amazing thing about songwriting and kind of poetry and lyrics in
Wild
general.
times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Truly. So we are, very much at the end of the year here.
Yeah.
What does the next year of your life look like? Like, what are some lofty goals that you would hopefully like to accomplish by next year's end?
I think one of the things I'm really working on, and this is going to sound kind of odd, but I playing out, I mean, is something that I'm working on, because
Yeah.
that's something I years ago did a lot, and I haven't, that wasn't really even a part of the planning with any of this, because I really got started during pandemic, right? And so, like,
Sure.
that's the last thing on my mind. It's like tours are canceled, clubs are closed, nothing's happening. So working out kind of how to play gigs was not kind of at the forefront of my mind. But I think I'm ready to actually put something together, kind of put a crew together, and do some shows, and just decided to kind of get into that mode of expression again. So that's, again, it's not a huge goal in the grand scheme of things, but to
That is a
put something
huge
together
goal. That is a huge goal.
in this day and age, you think, yeah, yeah,
Well, I mean, you think about it, there's like literal thousands and thousands of bands that are fighting for spaces.
yeah.
Luckily, you're in Northern California. There's plenty of venues to pop into or things to make happen. I do want to know though, like, out of all the songs on this record, is there one that you're looking forward to performing live the most?
Well, I think as far as just kind of hype and excitement, Raise the Roof is a tune that I think is going to be a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun to tweak. I mean, I think the live experience, I don't want to just play the record.
Of course.
And especially when you're playing with, players, good players. I mean, you can play around with that and sort of incorporate other tunes and do some things with songs. So I think that song has the potential to have a lot of life.
Of course.
But I think some of the more solemn things, a tune like Well Well, which was more kind of on the kind of downbeat ballad type space.
Sure.
I think it's a tune that it's a song that's powerful to me and sort of speaks to me. I think there's other people who might want to hear it too. And so I think it could be a great sort of staple in a live show.
Oh, I think you're right. Chris, I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I basically want to know, like, for the person that is going to discover you from this,
Yeah.
what is an opening message that you'd like to say to them before they listen to your music for the first time?
Awesome. I think I strive to be a storyteller in these songs, and I hope that I hope there's something in the songs that you're going to hear that might make you feel a little bit better about where you're at right now, and maybe there's a story that we can tell together over the years. So yeah, looking to make friends and relationships.
Awesome.
Hope you can jump on in.
I think that's a great closing statement right there. Chris, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. It really does mean a lot. Please let me plug your music for you. If you guys missed it the first time around, the record is called Missing Pieces. We will have the links in the article so that people can listen and share and follow along. And it obviously sounds like there's so much more coming in the new year. I am personally excited at this point.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin. I really
You're so
appreciate it.
welcome, Chris. Thank you so much again. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I hope to speak soon.
Terrific.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye bye.
See ya.